Taco, 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 Taco Thursday. The steak starts now. Good evening and welcome to the Steaks. Tara is in her car right now. She will be here very soon. She's driving and stuck in traffic. So everyone just sit still. Everything's going to be okay because our very good friend Julie Roginski is here and I'm going to bring her in right now. Hello, Julie.
Hey, hi, everybody. What an honor. I feel like
what an honor for us. Thank you so much. And if you guys don't already know, Julie, Tara, and Jojo from Jurors and I co-host a show on Wednesdays at noon called Over It. And then we have a weekend edition of that on Saturdays at 10 a.m. Eastern. And then all of that happens on YouTube, at least for now. We're going to be moving to Substack fairly soon. So keep an eye out for that. Julie.
Happy Taco Thursday.
Happy Taco Thursday.
Every day is Taco Day in the United States these days.
Every day is Taco Day in the United States. So where to begin here? What are your feelings about taco?
So what I love about Taco, and by the way, I think from now on, everybody needs to call him Taco because it clearly drives him up the wall. It puts him in a really bad situation. And here's the deal. I was at Yankee Stadium last week. I think I told you, Michelle. And I was there as a guest of, I'm going to spare naming him just because I don't want to drag him into this and embarrass him. It was somebody who is a fairly prominent New Yorker who has known Trump for 100 years. And he's kind of and by the way, this guy, as it turns out, was a Trump supporter, which I did not know when I agreed to go. But it doesn't matter because he said something very interesting. I mean, it does matter, but he said something very interesting, which is that he said, look, all of you are overreacting to Trump because Trump always does the same thing. It's the same exact playbook. He will always go to the extremes and then he will walk it back to make himself look reasonable. So that if he started, for example, with 30% tariffs on China, that would have been crazy and the markets would have tanked. But because he started with 145% tariffs on China, going back to 30%, the market was rejoicing. And he's not wrong about that. But
yeah,
what's interesting about that
so dramatic.
It's the only playbook Trump ever has. And he and once he kind of said this to me, once you kind of see it, you can't unsee it. And it's true. He consistently does this with everything. And so what's fascinating is he got called out on it because what is his move, like it's a signature move. Other people see as him being chickening out. Right. So now he's kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place where like it's the only move he's got. But on the other hand, he really can't be seen to be made to look ridiculous. So
because it's a weakness to him and he can't look weak and he'll always double, triple down because I mean, he's Biff. He's Biff from Back to the Future. Like he's an asshole and a bully. And so this taco thing. So if you guys don't know, this happened. And it's funny because I live, eat and breathe the news. But if you blink, you will miss stories like I did. And Jojo had to explain this to me last night because one of my best friends texted me a bunch of chickens and tacos. And I was like, oh, her kid must have her phone. But then Jojo explained it to me and I was like, oh my God. Okay. So if you're listening at home, this is from the New York Times. President Trump, it would seem, is not one for a taco. The taco in question is not a dish made with tortillas, but rather a reference to how markets are responding to his tariff policies. The taco trade, short for Trump always chickens out, is a tongue-in-cheek term coined by Financial Times columnist Robert Armstrong. It has been adopted by some analysts and commentators to describe the potentially lucrative pattern in which markets tumble after Mr. Trump makes tariff threats only to rebound sharply when he relents and allows countries more time to negotiate their deals. So what happened in the Oval Office? Was this yesterday or the day before? I don't know.
Yesterday.
Was it yesterday?
Yeah, somebody asked him about it, which is
great. Which is great. And of course, it was a woman and like chef's kiss from CNBC. I'm going to play the clip right now because it must be seen to be believed.
Mr. President, Wall Street have coined a new term called the taco trade. They're saying Trump always chickens out on your tariff threats, and that's why markets are higher this week. What's your response to that?
I kick out?
Chicken out.
Oh, isn't that nice? Chicken out. I've never heard that. You mean because I reduced China from 145% that I set down to 100 and then down to another number? And I said you have to open up your whole country. And because I gave the European Union a 50% tax tariff, and they called up and they said, please, let's meet right now. Please, let's meet right now. And I said, okay, I'll give you till July 9. I actually asked them, I said, what's the date? Because they weren't willing to meet. And after I did what I did, they said, we'll meet anytime you want. And we have an end date of July 9th. You call that chickening out? Because we have $14 trillion now invested, committed to investing when Biden didn't have practically anything. This country was dying. You know, we have the hottest country anywhere in the world. I went to Saudi Arabia. The king told me, he said, you got the hottest, we have the hottest country in the world right now. 6 months ago, this country was stone cold dead. We had a dead country. We had a country people didn't think it was going to survive, and you ask a nasty question like that. It's called negotiation. You set a number. And if you go down, if I set a number at a ridiculous high number and I go down a little bit, a little bit, they want me to hold that number, 145% tariff. Even I said, man, that really got up. You know how it got? Because of fentanyl and many other things, and you added it up. I said, where are we now? We're at 145%. I said, whoa, that's high. That's high. They were doing no business whatsoever, and they were having a lot of problems. We were very nice to China. I don't know if they're going to be nice to us, but we were very nice to China. And in many ways, I think we really helped China tremendously because, they were having great difficulty because we were basically going cold turkey with China. We were doing no business because of the tariff, because it was so high. But I knew that. But don't ever say what you said. That's a nasty question. Go ahead. To me, that's the nastiest question. Wait a minute. Wait. Go ahead, please.
So, first of all, I'd love to know your thoughts just after watching that again.
So, first of all, I don't know how many people here know, you may not know, I spent about a decade at Fox News. So I know Judge Jeanine Pirro quite well. And I don't know if people notice this, but you should get this all out on social media because it's true. If you watch that clip, she was laughing at the taco comment. So his good friend Jeanine Pirro was laughing at him until she realized, oh shit, actually I can't do that. And
yeah,
she put a poker face on. But even Pirro thought that was really funny. Second, it's what I said before, where he's stuck between a rock and a hard place. He's like explaining himself as to how he comes down, which basically gives credence to the whole taco thing. Because he's like 145, and I started off with that, and then I went down. Well, yeah, of course.
Yeah, that clip was 2 minutes and 24 seconds. That is how long he rambled with that answer because it pissed him off so much. And if there is anything that I know from the 4 years of working at the Lincoln Project is that I would say the one thing they're very, very good at is the audience of one content where they go after Trump directly and they get him where his Achilles heels are. And somehow they always seem to know. And he reacts. And when he reacts, he makes mistakes. And when he makes mistakes, it makes him weaker as a leader, as a candidate, whatever it is. So I think in this instance, I think the taco thing is really bothering him. I think it's really bothering him. And I want to post this because some of you may have seen this online today. My husband works at Columbus Circle in Manhattan, which is about 59th Street and Central Park. And he sent this to me this morning. Someone.
Yeah. And I want to also say somebody on Twitter stole that picture.
Oh
that
yeah, a
you-
whole lot of people did. A whole lot of people did.
and did not give you credit, which is complete and utter bullshit. And I just
I
want to be
know.
clear.
They all
If
do it. They all do
you
it.
do that, why don't you just at least give credit to the person who took it? In this case, Michelle's husband, but you
I
posted
know, yeah. But it's like it's one of those things where I'm like, if you don't know who it is, that's fine. But you know who it is
Yeah.
because you saw it on my account and then you just thieved it, which is
Yep.
not cool. But yeah, it I've seen it everywhere. I saw it on Reddit today. But the taco thing is crazy. And I'll tell you who it's a woman. She lives in New York and she goes outside of Trump Hotel and many other places and writes stuff down. Her name is Karen Shaw. You can find her on Blue Sky and Instagram. I actually connected with her today just because, but she said that somebody went out with a bucket and mopped it down like almost immediately after. So he was very lucky to see it at the time. But I mean, he's very clearly triggered by the whole thing. And I want to add this one more thing here, because the woman who asked the question, her name is Megan Casella, and she is a reporter from CNBC. And it says the synopsis here is a White House press briefing witnessed a tense exchange, which we just watched, about the taco trade, the Wall Street term suggesting often retreats into tariff threats. Sorry, my husband just walked in. Thank you very much. Trump visibly annoyed, denied the claim. I mean, yeah, this is all very. This is how he operates, and the fact at the end he was like, "That's a nasty question," which is
Well,
like.
I'll also say one thing. If you remember the "Let's Go Brandon" thing that took
Mhm.
the beginning of Biden's administration, because a bunch of yahoos were screaming "F you, Biden," and somebody misheard and said, "Did they say let's go Brandon?" Because Brandon,
Right. It was at like a
the
NASCAR thing.
yeah.
Mhm.
And that kind of took off. And then I think, I have this house in Eastern Pennsylvania with a lot of Trumpers
Mhm.
living far around, and there were a bunch of "Let's Go Brandon" flags flying from people's houses. So it became kind of a shorthand. This is what the right does so well. They meme really, really, really well.
Mhm.
I challenge everybody listening to do the same with tacos.
Mhm.
This needs to be Taco Trump needs to be a thing. Call him a
Yes.
soft taco if you want.
Soft talk.
I mean, seriously, call him a soft taco. But that's what he is. He is a soft taco. And he's an easily breakable taco.
Yes. He's a
There's-
very, very fragile.
He's a very fragile taco. Sometimes when you bite into a taco, it falls apart. I can keep this going all night, so I'm going to stop. But I'm saying this because I think this is what people need to do.
Well, and Democrats need to do this, right?
Yeah.
Because I saw this today, David Roberts at volts.wtf, and it said, now that we know the taco thing bugs the F out of Trump, a coherent left media machine would swing into action and make sure that every single left of center person on a TV show or podcast used the term repeatedly for the next several weeks, making it inescapable. And then I commented, and I think I actually tagged you and Tara, because the next thing he said, instead, there's probably some sad sack, middle-aged Dem consultant somewhere advising Dem politicians to avoid the term because it doesn't resonate with the inside of their navel.
All right. Well, as a sad sack middle-aged gem consultant
But
myself,
you're not one of them. You're not one of them.
I can tell you that he's probably right about a lot of my colleagues there, but B, it's nonsense. And I'm going to be, if they don't cancel me on MSNBC tomorrow, and I am going to only refer to him
as you should, President Taco.
President Taco, because that is what drives him up the wall.
Yeah.
And everybody here has to do the same. I don't care if you have 5 followers on Twitter. I don't care if you're not even on Twitter, which you shouldn't be because it's Twitter.
It's terrible.
Facebook, social media, talking to your friends, talking to your wine bottle, however you want to talk to people, communicate with them, only refer to him as Taco. Not even President Taco, just Taco.
Just Taco. You're right. You're right. President Taco, I think, is giving him a little bit too much credit.
Somebody said Kristen McCall, Taco in Chief. Great. Call him Taco in Chief.
Yes, Taco in Chief is great. But like, this is the thing. And so during the campaign, do you remember the weird thing? They were calling JD Vance weird and Trump weird. And they are. And it was funny because they are weird. Like, they're weird people. They do weird stuff. They're freaks. And then all of a sudden it was like the campaign and they were like, oh, well, we shouldn't say weird too many times because we don't really think it's, resonating. And all of a sudden then everybody stopped saying weird. And I'm like,
listen, we can rehash everything in that campaign that went wrong because they couldn't stick to a message to save their life. So let's put that aside. But we have been gifted a gift, my friends, again. We were gifted a gift last week with the passage of the House budget. I don't see Democrats really taking advantage of that either. We were gifted a gift with this taco thing. Don't sit around waiting for Democratic consultants or, more relevantly, politicians to save you, because they're not going to. Just run with it yourself, please.
Exactly. Don't wait for anybody to do it. Just do it. It will catch on. I think it's already catching on. I will tell you this, and I said this in our group chat today. I got a text from my friend who is an editor at NBC News, and she said, oh my God, somebody just dropped your tweet into the NBC editor's Slack today. Oh my God. And like the other reporter had said, I don't know if they ran it or not, but I guess the message in the Slack channel was like, we need to keep an eye on this taco thing because it's taking off and this is going viral today. Like, we need to keep our eyes and ears on this because this is a story now and it's clearly bothering him. And
you know how it could go viral if every Democratic politician started on the Hill, for example, started tweeting out little taco emojis. I mean, like, there's a way to do this and they're not doing it. So I'm telling you right now, rather than bemoan the sad state of affairs when it comes to Democratic messaging, which we can devote 27 hours to talking about, we can just say it's up to us. So we just have to do it. So wherever you have an audience, even if it's you and your cat, just refer to him as taco. Soft taco
absolutely
is fine too.
Well, and if somebody's watching here who happens to have a lot of money and you want us at the Seneca Project to do something about this, I can tell you right now, we have a video idea, we have a billboard truck idea, we have all kinds of ideas and how to bug the crap out of him. Even, the placement of doing even a 30-second ad at Bedminster on Fox in the morning does not cost very much. That media market is super tiny. It does not cost a lot of money. So if you or someone wants to fund Seneca Project trolling him, I mean, we're all ears. So reach out, let us know.
That would be in the Raritan, because I'm such a nerd as a consultant. I can tell you, I believe that is the Raritan Valley interconnect cable. Interconnect. And it costs nothing.
It's so cheap. And that's like during the summertime, when I would place ads there all the time for my last job, it was really easy to do. There was always space. And we would either do Fox in the morning, because the man watches TV all day long, or the Golf Channel, or like anywhere where there was, a golf match playing. But, your best bet was Fox or golf. And, then he would attack the ad within like 12 hours. I mean, he would sit there and stew. And also it embarrassed him because he knew that the other people at his club were seeing it too, because they have TVs on everywhere. So like there's many, many different things you can do here. And again, like when he says the nasty thing back, especially at a female reporter, and says that's such a nasty question. That's such a nasty question. I remember when he said to Hillary Clinton, nasty woman, that became kind of a battle cry, if you will. And I would love to show this, actually. It was one of our highest performing videos in 2024, but I think it really is still very relevant. It's Trump reacting to these sorts of things during his last administration. It's called Bully Pulpit Prick, and I'm going to play that right now.
All presidents have the power of what's known as the bully pulpit.
During this serious international crisis, President Trump was busy attacking women.
There's something wrong with the woman.
She doesn't know what the hell she's doing. She's mean.
She's crazy. She's vicious. She's lost it. She is incompetent.
President Donald Trump has attacked the British Prime Minister Theresa May.
He attacked Oprah Winfrey, Sally Yates,
Susan Rice,
Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski.
He called Maxine Waters low IQ.
She's a real beauty.
The president launching a personal attack on MSNBC host Mika Brzezinski.
Now he's attacking Omarosa, comparing her to a dog.
The president lashed out, calling Stormy Daniels, I'm quoting the president now,
horseface. Remember the woman crying?
Martha Raddatz, oh.
He attacks women reporters far more often than he attacks men.
You ask a lot of stupid questions.
So horrid in the way you ask a question. You know you're a fake. I know you're not thinking. You never do.
I'm sorry?
No, go ahead.
The president also found time to launch a Twitter attack on Bette Midler.
He's attacking Jamel Hill.
Speaker Pelosi,
Hillary Clinton.
Michelle Obama, a 16-year-old climate activist.
He openly mocked Christine Blasey Ford.
What neighborhood was it in? I don't know.
President Trump is someone who knee-jerk attacks the credibility of female accusers.
She's made this charge against others.
Carol claims Trump assaulted her.
I saw her in a picture. She is not my type.
Kamala Harris.
She could never be the first woman president.
Do American women in this country, can they know that the president has their back?
Well, absolutely not, Katie.
So I'm just laughing because Wolf Blitzer, who's a wonderful man, is like, and I'm quoting here, horse
Right. It's
but
funny.
yeah.
It's horrifying, but it's actually very funny. That one part. It's the timing of it is quite good. But
great.
yeah, thank you. I mean, and it still holds up, obviously, and maybe we'll make a part 2 soon because there's many different scenarios to kind of to add into that. But it's funny. There was a line there. It said that he's I think it was Lawrence O'Donnell said that he's mean, but like he's particularly awful to women reporters. And I used to work for a guy who was an asshole, and he hated women. I would go so far as to say he hates women because he's still very much around and very much alive.
I'm going to tell my husband, if you don't mind, that I can put that away so you don't have to make noise, but he's not listening to me right now.
That's okay.
Go ahead.
It's the excuse always was, well, he's an asshole to everyone. And I'm like, that's not an excuse. That's just, it is particularly awful to women. And if you've ever worked for or been around men who were like this and they see you and they become predators, if not, in a certain kind of way, they do verbally and emotionally abusive, which he is. And, these people they're awful. And I think, he's the head of the snake in terms of behavior and in terms of the racism and the misogyny and everything that's behind the MAGA movement. He gives the green light for everyone to be their worst self, including, the Elon Musks and the David Sacks and all these people that he surrounds himself with.
Yeah.
And Stephen Miller, obviously, who I don't know.
We'll get to that.
I was going to get to that next, actually.
Okay, well, that's a good segue.
Yeah, let's talk about that. So, if you don't know, Stephen Miller's wife, her name is Katie Miller, has been the right-hand man, if you will, to Elon Musk in his stint in the federal government working for the White House. She is by his side all day, every day, 7 days a week. And today it was announced that she was leaving. She's leaving to go with Elon Musk.
Not leaving Stephen Miller yet. She's just leaving. Well, maybe because that was a weird situation.
So So here it is. This was in Raw Story this morning. Rumors swirl as Stephen Miller's wife leaves White House to work for Elon Musk. So Elon Musk announced, he's like, okay, I'm officially leaving. Which, if you believe that, I have a brush to tell you. Yeah. He's still very much going to be around, but he's not. He's a PR disaster. Everybody knows it. He's a disaster for his own stock price, and so that's why they're trying to make this public announcement that he's leaving. He's not, but she's going to go with him to go work at SpaceX or whatever the hell. And this is very funny. So let me just read this. One of President Donald Trump's aides, wife of Stephen Miller, is following Elon Musk out of the White House to do full-time work for the tech mogul. Katie Miller had been working as a top advisor and spokesperson for the Department of Government Efficiency, DOGE, which, as we all know, is not a real thing. But 3 sources familiar with the matter told CNN that she was leaving the government to work for Musk in the private sector. She was a special government employee since Trump returned to the White House, although she was also being paid earlier this year by the Republican consulting firm P2 Public Affairs, which I don't really know how that works. But they both are saying that, we only ever said we were going to do 130 days. And so this really isn't that nefarious. And we were going to leave anyways, which I don't really know about that. But it says here, Miller's exit sparked speculation about her marriage to the president's deputy White House chief of staff, and sent the word throuple trending on social media. Quote, if you think you've made poor life decisions, there is a woman who not only married Stephen Miller, she left him for Elon Musk, said the popular Volatile Mermaid account on Blue Sky. And there's another quote that says, if you thought Stephen Miller hated immigrants before. but it's I read the words Stephen Miller and throuple, then passed out for like 20 minutes, said USA Today columnist Rex Hupke. Has it stopped yet, or are all the worst things imaginable still happening all at once?
I mean, listen, I don't know what's going on over there. If everybody's a consenting adult, that's
but just
I don't judge. I mean, this woman.
I mean, I do a little bit. I judge these people because they're worst. They're the worst people.
This woman has made a life choice to marry Stephen Miller, so any other choices she makes cannot possibly be worse. So she's already done the worst possible thing you can do, but
and had a child.
Oh God, they procreated. All right, well, she's gonna
have a kid. Right, and so that's her.
Well, what's interesting to me is not that. What's interesting to me is that so as you said, he has been on this on this incredible public relations mission over the last week to rehabilitate himself. And he's been going on all of these shows, and he's been talking. He's doing CBS Sunday Morning, which again, he's not doing 60 Minutes, which is on hiatus right now anyway, but he's doing CBS Sunday Morning, which is a very nice, soft, it's a great show, but it's for people who want to drink their coffee on Sunday mornings and not worry too much.
Right.
And so he's been doing all of that. And what I think is interesting is, as he's been doing it, he's been trying to humanize himself to the extent that he can. And he can't believe what kind of person would burn down a Tesla. And all he wanted to do was make life better for everybody. And he's been criticizing the big, beautiful bill, the one big, beautiful bill that Trump has been behind, that he supported. And that he's been criticizing it. Well, what's interesting is that the person who's organizing this media tour for him, she went to Tesla, it's not SpaceX, I believe she's now technically working at Tesla, is Kate Miller. What's also interesting is that the person who took a swipe at Elon Musk for criticizing the administration on this bill is not the chief of staff, it's not Susie Wiles, it's not Donald Trump, it's not J.D. Vance, it's Stephen Miller.
Right.
Is there trouble in throuple paradise? Is this a bait and switch that they're trying to create to show that, there's nothing to these rumors? Is Stephen Miller doesn't go out there and really engage with people too much on this kind of stuff.
Right. And I saw somewhere like this was a speculative tweet, obviously, too, but they were like, did he meaning Stephen Miller, did he try to honeypot his wife into Elon Musk's world to be able to pull the strings over there more?
Maybe.
I mean, I wouldn't put it past him.
Maybe he honeypotted her a little too hard, and now she's run off.
Listen. Elon, there is no doubt in my mind that Elon Musk is trying to get up in that, because I know for a fact, and I know someone who was at an event with him, and she was standing with her husband, who has a very famous last name that I won't say, and he hit on her right in front of him, and he knows the husband too, and he fully was trying to get all up in her business too, and she was like, she was aghast, couldn't believe that it was actually happening. He does not care. He doesn't care, and he's got $1 trillion. He thinks he can do whatever he wants.
He may not care. The question is, does she care?
Right. I don't know.
And again, look, to each their own. If she wants to go be in a throuple, if she wants to leave her husband for Elon Musk, if she wants to just have a side piece with Elon Musk situation going.
Right.
Listen, I don't judge. Everybody's got their thing, and maybe that's,
right.
Again,
somebody was like, don't kink shame.
Don't kink shame them. And P.S. as I said, she's already having sex with Stephen Miller willingly. I can't, again, to each their own. There's a, what's the phrase? There's a lock.
There's someone for everyone.
Like a key for every lock, a door. I don't know, whatever that idiom is. But anyway, clearly she has already had a consensual adult relationship with Stephen Miller. So, who are we to judge? But I will say that I think it's fascinating.
It is. It's interesting.
That her husband is the point person in the Trump administration going after Elon Musk. And my question is this like a loyalty test that Trump is making him do?
Right.
Like, you better go and trash your wife's, like, you better prove to me, kind of like a Kellyanne Conway thing that he used to do in the first administration.
Right.
You better prove to me that you love me and are more loyal to me than you are to your own spouse by going out there and trashing effectively her for setting up these interviews for Elon Musk. The same way he used to make Kellyanne Conway, or at least kind of encourage, I believe, Kellyanne Conway to do that in the first administration with respect to her husband. So it's very interesting to me that this is happening.
Well, and also, I mean, and we joke and, we discuss like the more salacious parts of this, but I think at the root of this really is the destruction and the evilness of DOGE, the Department of Government Efficiency. That is not a real thing. It's just basically a permission structure or a tagline to just go in with a chainsaw and a hacksaw and completely destroy the federal government, which they have done. And, I was speaking to someone who's inside of this and said to me a couple weeks ago, he's like, there's no coming back from this. Like, the damage that has been done is irreversible.
No, and I want to say this as soon as I shut the door here for 1 second. Excuse me.
But yeah, so I'll just go there. He said it's irreversible. Now, will we build it? Will we rebuild? Yes. But in terms of how things were in December of 2024, they will never, ever, ever be the same again. Dan Steely says, wrong, we can rebuild. Right. That's what I just said. Yeah, we can rebuild and we will.
Well, listen, I do want to say something about this because I actually wrote a Substack column on this today, and I don't want to scare people, but I think it's important for people to know.
Mm-hmm.
So, as Elon Musk has been going on this 3-hour tour extravaganza talking about poor Elon and how much he tried to save the United States and how he's been a broken man because Washington can't be changed and yada, yada, understand that he's not really going to be that engaged with DOGE anymore, just a little bit, but now he's going back to Tesla and to SpaceX and he's a businessman and that's what he's going to do.
Right. Sure, Jan.
Yeah. So that's all bullshit. And I'm going to explain why. He has his little minions, including some guy named Big Balls, who's 19 years old.
Yeah.
Who have been seated across every federal agency in America.
Mm-hmm.
And more relevantly, they have gotten their hands on all of our proprietary information, whether at HSS, whether at Social Security,
our health records, all of it.
And whether at the IRS. And today, a federal judge ruled that yes, indeed, DOGE is allowed to have access to our proprietary financial information. Because they have been, quote unquote, trained on how to access it properly. Now that they have been trained on all of this stuff, it's okay. I also want to note that, and this has not been discussed by the media, and shame on the media for not discussing it because it's good, but it's
added to the list.
But it's also true that all of this information has been uploaded. And there have been reports about this, very scant. And I don't know why the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Wall Street Journal, or CBS Sunday Morning, and all of these places that have been doing these interviews with him have not asked him this question because they should. He has been uploading that information. There's this to his to Grok, which is his AI platform.
Right.
So that if one day somebody wants to say, hey, Grok, tell me about Michelle Kinney. I'm not going to use you as an example because that's bad. Tell me about Jane Smith.
Right.
Grok will be able to say, Jane Smith's social security numbers, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, 3, whatever, through 9. Jane Smith had an abortion when she was 19.
Right.
Jane Smith takes the following medication. Jane Smith made the following amount of money last year, and Jane Smith made that amount of money from the following sources.
Right.
It is also good to know that he has a standing phone conversation with Vladimir Putin all the time, and that the biggest Tesla factory outside of the United States, the second biggest one in the world, is in Shanghai, which he is only allowed to operate by the grace of the CCP, the Chinese Communist Party. So you can see how all of this information that we were always told to keep secret, how you're only supposed to give the last 4 digits of your social because your entire social is so proprietary, is now in the hands of 19-year-olds named Big Balls who work for Elon Musk. And as much as we sit there and laugh about the Thruple thing, and as much as we sit there and laugh about...
I mean, we need something to laugh at.
Yeah,
Julie.
but I mean, as much as that, like, it is terrifying.
It is. Listen, if we didn't laugh, we'd cry.
What I just said is terrifying. 2 is that our media has done nothing to bring this out into the open on the front page of the newspaper or on the literally leading the news.
I'll tell you one outlet that is writing about this, and they're doing a great job, is Wired.com. So if any of you are listening, watching this, go to Wired.com, subscribe to to the website. I don't think it costs very much money. You can give them a little extra because, I don't know exactly what their deal is, but you can donate. And I did. I sent them like $100 or something at the beginning of the administration because they were the first ones out the gate really reporting on the insidious nature of what these DOGE little big balls guys were doing. And they were the ones that reported who they were, where they came from, why they were there. I mean, Big Balls, I don't even know the kid's name. He's like 19 years old. He's Canadian. And wasn't his grandfather like a Russian spy or something crazy?
His grandfather was
like nuts.
Yeah, it's nuts. And by the way, Starlink, which he owns, is in the White House. That is now their internet provider.
Right.
It's also the internet provider, I believe, for like Delta or somebody. So the point is, like, he is everywhere. He's got all of our information. God knows what he's doing with it. God knows what DOGE is doing with it. And so for him to go on this tirade about how he is now leaving government because it's neither, because it's not for him, is complete and utter bullshit. And yet they keep writing the story credulously.
I know. They're just kind of stating the story in a headline like it's somehow normal without stating that this is crazy, this is not okay, you're in danger. The American people are in danger. I mean, I think it's just crazy. And I want to say too, on the DOGE front, is what they have done to American veterans and our military is atrocious. This is the first administration in the history of this country to abandon our military and our veterans in every which way possible, yet still use them as props to anchor themselves into some patriotic, like nonsense that none of it's real, because we've got a 5-time draft dodger as president who said that his own personal Vietnam was not getting the clap in the 70s.
Yeah.
And, unfortunately, I mean, a lot of these veterans and people in the military are coming around to this. And I want to play just really quick our video called Betraying the Brave that we made with our friend Marcus Flowers and the lovely people over at Hold the Line Pack. We're going to play that, and then we're going to have an addition to our conversation on the other side.
The golden age of America has only just begun.
Veterans will suffer.
It will be like nothing that has ever been seen before.
Friday night Pentagon purge.
President Trump has just fired the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff.
Truly unprecedented.
And we take good care of our veterans.
Veterans are being fired.
We've been betrayed.
Absolutely betrayed.
A slap in the face.
I feel let down.
I feel like I'm not good enough.
We love our veterans.
The president referred to them as suckers and losers.
We're not losers. We're not suckers.
We care about veterans, but at the same time, we have a fiscal responsibility to use taxpayer dollars to pay people that actually work.
We don't deserve to be treated like this.
Perhaps they're not fit to have a job at this moment.
These people are brave, patriotic Americans that go to work every single day.
We have hundreds of thousands of federal workers who have not been showing up to work.
I put myself in harm's way for the country.
We put our whole entire life into public service, and all of a sudden, one man comes in and throws it all away.
Elon Musk, who is in the gallery tonight.
If Elon Musk does what he wants to do, between 200 to 300,000 veterans are fired this year.
Any federal bureaucrat who resists this change will be removed from office immediately.
Veterans make up 30% of the federal workforce.
Combat veterans, it's your neighbors. We want to work hard. We want to help people.
These warriors who shed their blood.
The Department of Veterans Affairs dismissing more than 1,400 probationary workers.
Can you guarantee that veterans' benefits and care will not be affected by these cuts?
No, I can't guarantee anything.
I just feel like I've just been swept up in a dustpan and thrown out. I voted for Trump. A lot of us didn't deserve this.
And welcome, Tara. Welcome.
Hello.
Welcome to the stakes.
Hi.
So you heard what we were talking about, just the insidious operation, which is DOGE, the destruction of our entire federal government and of our military and our veterans who overwhelmingly work for the federal government. And we made this a couple months ago. So the numbers here are much worse. And the reality of this is much worse. Taking away hotlines to help veterans who are having mental health crisis, suicide hotlines are being taken away. And, the cruelty and the, it's you go ahead.
No, the indiscriminate nature of the way that Elon Musk came in with a literal chainsaw, and he was proud of that. He actually went up on stage at CPAC bragging about like a jackass with a chainsaw. And, the people in the crowd were like, yeah. I'm like, really? You're talking about taking a chainsaw to people's livelihoods, to expertise, to the portions of our government, the soft power of our government around the world, not just here. And you're bragging about this because you had some, wet dream of being able to press the levers of government and do whatever you want for it.
Right.
And now he gets to scurry away after he's destroyed our federal workforce and all and the number of programs that are underneath all of that. It's not just, oh yeah, the government sucks. I mean, 86% of federal workers work outside of the DC area. People don't understand this. But again, and hi, Julie. I feel like I just saw you. Hi. Thank you for holding down the fort for me.
I know. Thanks, Julie, so much for being here. Helping me out.
I feel like I never really watched. I never watched any Real Housewives, but I read a lot of gossip rags.
Right.
Isn't there like a Friends of? Like, don't they have like the regular cast?
Yes, they do.
I'm friends of.
That's so true. That's funny. Yeah. A friend of the Seneca Project. Right. But yeah, I mean, what Elon did, and then he gets just to scurry on out of here and just be like, oh, that's it. I mean, it's insane. And it goes to what Julie was talking about earlier with the Democrats, because I was listening in the car, by the way. And they should be talking constantly about what Elon Musk has done, particularly in Virginia, where I live, and in Northern Virginia. There is a governor's race here this year, a very important one. And Virginia is going to be looked at as kind of a bellwether because there's been like weird, funky things going on in Virginia, and it's a purple state now. And depending on how large the victory is, will also help with momentum going into the midterms. And
it's
this
a referendum.
And this is a perfect microcosm of what Elon Musk has done all over the country because of how reliant on the federal government Virginia is, with all the federal workers. You have the defense industry here, the Pentagon is here. And so I just don't understand why that all of the Democrats, at every time they're in front of a microphone, are not constantly reminding people that Elon Musk did this at the behest of Donald Trump and has ruined lives, from veterans to children to kids with cancer to veterans with cancer to your grandma to your great grandma to your farmers neighbor to your farmer's farmer. All of these people have been impacted negatively and lives ruined, and your small business owner and the diner waitress and the hardware store owner and the dress shop maker down the street and the kindergarten teacher. I mean, all of these things,
right?
Every average American has been impacted by this motherfucker and what he was allowed to do with DOGE. Yeah, and he gets to walk off. He gets to just sashay his ass back to wherever the hell he was before. and go back into the little hole he was in and then his little Tesla cave. I don't know. This is bullshit. He needs to be held accountable for what he's done.
Yeah.
Livelihoods have been destroyed.
Yeah.
Expertise in this country has been destroyed.
Yeah.
I mean, our standing around the world has been destroyed with his destruction of USAID. Kids are dying. People are dying in Africa as we speak right now because they took those programs away. And we just shrug at that. Well, Elon Musk's exit, his time is over now. Get the fuck out of here.
Well,
I don't know.
And as much as, and again, something the media just doesn't ask him about, but look, let's assume that 3.5 years from now, a Democrat comes back to the White House.
God willing.
We have a free and fair election that happens. But let's assume that happens. It's not like we can suddenly turn the key and get all these people back. I mean, these are people with decades of experience.
Right. We will move on. We'll go work for the private sector.
Other private sector, or retire,
or they get scooped up by Canada or Europe or China. Like, I mean,
it's already happening. It's already happening, especially in academia. In academia and in science, they're leaving. They're being welcomed with open arms in other countries that are safer and more sane right now, which is the brain drain that we are losing, the institutional knowledge that we are losing in this country. These are the parts of what makes America the exception in the world, why we were so exceptional. And Donald Trump is turning us into his dumpy, gold-plated, half-assed, put-together Trump Tower and the rest of his other properties. His mediocrity, he is thrusting on the American people and on the American dream and on our country on purpose, because then it allows, like I said, it's about control. I've said this before. And so it's infuriating. It's infuriating that we're losing all of this. And it's only been 5 months. If that, right? Are we 4 months into this shit? Give me a break. I mean, my God.
Yeah.
I mean, this is where I get even more angry at the Democrats, because again, we have been handed a story to tell, and it's not hard. It's not hard. You just have to be brave. You have to have some gumption. You have to have a spine and a fire in your belly. And that's what, about this is making me so crazy. And listen, Julie, I know that you know Cory Booker and you worked for him, and, I don't think he's a bad person. I have been a fan of his for a long time. But I gotta say, like, I don't know who to believe anymore. Who's representing us? Who's there for the American people? Because I don't know anymore.
Explain why.
Well, that's what I'm getting to. That's what I'm getting to. And I want to tell people that. So he did the not a filibuster thing, where he broke the 25-hour not a filibuster thing of Strom Thurmond. And it was very inspiring, and we all cheered, and he raised a lot of money, and that's great. But then it was reported by Politico this week that he's writing a book. And the book is based on the floor speech, and it's called Stand. And Stand will be published November 11th. St. Martin's Press announced Wednesday. In April, the New Jersey Democrat, as we all know, the longest continuous Senate floor speech for over 25 hours. And, this is after he voted to confirm. He was the only Democrat who voted to confirm Charles Kushner to be the ambassador to France. And
yes, that Kushner, for people who are wondering.
Yes, that Kushner, Jared Kushner's dad,
father, who is a horrible person.
He's more than that. If I can just bring
well, Julie.
Statement. I pulled Cory Booker's statement, which I actually, when I was reading, I actually couldn't believe it when I was reading it.
You know what? It doesn't even matter what he said about, what a great guy he was or how he worked with him on stuff. Who gives a fuck? The guy is a criminal.
This is right.
And a terrible person, and deserved everything he got when he went to prison. And it was Chris Christie who prosecuted him. And, go ahead, Julie. Well, you're from Jersey like me, but you were there when all this was going down.
Well, I was definitely there when this was all going on. So understand that Charlie Kushner, Jared's father, was a huge Democratic donor in New Jersey in the 90s. Probably the biggest single Democratic donor in New Jersey in the 90s.
Because they're billionaires, just so people understand.
Yeah, and he is the brains behind the operation. Jared would fly down to visit Charlie Kushner in prison in Alabama every week, not just because he wanted to see his dad, but so that his dad could tell him how to run the Kushner companies from prison. For people who don't know, the reason that he ended up going to prison, and here, Chris Christie did the right thing, but also Chris Christie was very selective in picking and choosing whom he was going to go after.
Sure.
Because he knew he was running for president.
Yeah.
Running for
governor first.
And what he did was he understood that he had to go after this guy who was a humongous Democratic donor. And Charlie Kushner gave him good reason to do it, because Charlie Kushner was in a fight with his brother Murray about control of their real estate company. Murray, they had a sister, and I can't believe I can't remember these names, a sister named Esther. Esther sided with Murray in the fight between Murray and Charlie. And Charlie and cooperated with Murray into the investigation, Chris Christie's investigation into Charlie, over Charlie having straw donors in his company that he would give when he would max out to Democratic candidates.
Right.
He would have straw donors that he would tell, hey, person X, give, this person money and I'm going to reimburse you.
Which is actually not legal.
Which is not legal.
No.
Which is what Chris Christie seized on. Now, again, I want to be clear. There was good reason to investigate Charlie Kushner. On the other hand, believe me, there were Republicans who Chris Christie did not touch, or Democrats
of course,
who cooperated with him who he did not touch, who also there was good reason to investigate. So Charlie gets wind of the fact that Esther is cooperating into this investigation against him. What he does is he calls up two of his minions who work for him and say, I want you to go to New York City and find me a prostitute to set up Billy's shoulder. Esther, I cannot believe I remember these names. My God, it's been 20 years. And I did not prep for this.
Some people just never leave you, Julia.
Right. But this is how bonkers the story is that I remember these people's names. I want you to set up my brother-in-law with a prostitute so that I can record this and send it to my sister and to my young nephews, their children. The two minions say to Charlie, hey, Charlie, that's crazy. Like, even we don't want to go this far, and you should think twice. She is your sister after all. To which Charlie says, fuck it, I'm going to do it myself. If you guys can't do this for me, I'm going to do this myself. Now, understand, Charlie is an Orthodox Jew, super religious. I don't know how he knew exactly where to find a hooker, but apparently he did, because sure enough, Billy Shoulder, the brother-in-law, ends up going to I remember these names, the Time to Eat Diner in Somerville, New Jersey.
My aunt used to live there in Somerville.
Right? It's on the Circle in Somerville, New Jersey, the Time to Eat Diner. Whereupon he runs into the said hooker, who's there as a damsel in distress, pretending that she had a flat tire. And can this nice man give her a ride to her motel, where because she has no way of getting there. This is the most effective hooker on earth because she persuaded me to do this.
Right.
And I mean, I've never picked anybody up in my life, but apparently I need to take some lessons from her, because I don't know how you even do that in a diner, but she did it. They take her back. She takes him back to her hotel room where they proceed to have sex. The entire thing is recorded by Charlie, who takes it's a VHS tape, I think, takes the tape and sends it to his sister's house at a time where he knows the entire family, except for him, is gathered for some occasion.
Oh my God.
Says on this videotape, please play this for the whole family.
That's correct. It's awful.
And she does. And on screen is her husband having sex with the hooker. And of course, that was obstruction of justice from Chris Christie's perspective, which he's not wrong about. And so that added more counts to Charlie's. Anyway, Charlie ends up pleading guilty and then going to prison in Alabama, because he also claimed, and nobody asked him about this at his hearing, I believe, that he was an alcoholic, which I think, if you know Charlie Kushner, is just not true. Mm-hmm. So that if you're an alcoholic, you get to go to I think you get out of prison faster or something.
Yeah. As someone who spent way more time in federal penitentiaries that were medium and low security during my congressional job, which I'm going to talk about in a second, because this is a good segue into what my portion of what I wanted to talk about today, which are the pardons. But yeah, that's what he did, so he could get it, the easier treatment in Club Fed.
Mm-hmm. So you might say that, okay, Charlie learned his lesson, and Charlie is a much better human being as a result of having gone through prison, and everybody needs a second chance. And I believe in that too. But I don't believe that Charlie Kushner is a better person. I certainly don't believe Jared Kushner is a very good person. What he is a close friend of Cory Booker.
Yeah.
And, and a big donor to Cory Booker, as are Jared and Ivanka.
Yep. And sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Michelle.
No, I was going to say, I mean, this is just another example, and I'll just really quickly before we move on to the pardons, like, which again, Charles Kushner was pardoned by Donald Trump.
Yep.
Again, like, this is the Democrats obeying in advance because of, let's look at all the horrible things that the State Department is doing, led by Marco Rubio. 99-0. 99-0. Every single Democrat voted to confirm Marco Rubio. And this was a scoop just today. The State Department's new reorganization plan includes the opening of an Office for Remigration, a term popularized by the far-right extremists and neo-Nazis in Europe. The office will coordinate directly with DHS to advance the president's immigration agenda. And Mehdi Hasan said it perfectly today. If you want to understand why this country is in the state it's in and why we have no real functioning opposition party, consider this. Rubio has been the most dangerous and dictatorial member of the Trump cabinet, and yet every single Senate Democrat voted yes to confirm him. And like, it gets you nowhere. I mean, look at Gretchen Whitmer. Trump's talking about pardoning the people who were going to kidnap and kill her.
Yep.
And she was hugging him a couple weeks ago. Like, what is this? And people got mad at us for jumping on her. But like, there's a reason why we were upset. And this is why.
Yes, because it doesn't pay. You can't negotiate with fascists.
Correct.
Because all they will do is constantly push for more. It's the same thing with what's happening with CBS. Paramount offered to a $15 million settlement to Trump to get him to leave them alone because Sherry Redstone, who owns Paramount, who owns CBS, is trying to merge with Skydance in a multi-billion-dollar deal. Mm-hmm. And they need the Trump administration's approval in order to do it. So Trump has to stick up his ass for 60 minutes and he is demanding all of these crazy things and has sued them. And it's a frivolous lawsuit and would go nowhere if he weren't president. But because he is, he pulls the levers of all this power. So Paramount, just like ABC with their $15 million with Stephanopoulos, which was bullshit also, they said, here you go, 15 million. And they said, no. Trump said, no, we want 25 million and an apology. So they're always going to push it. We're counting down the days to when Gretchen Whitmer is going to be faced with a decision to either allow Trump to build his concentration camps on Michigan soil or lose the funding for the military base that she was there praising him or saying that he would give the
and
contract
hugging him.
Hugging him to give this contract to this National Guard base or whatever it was that they needed that would bring all these jobs to Michigan. You cannot negotiate with these people. It doesn't work. You never come out on top. It just empowers them more.
No. Right.
I'll never understand this. The thing about the observation that Mehdi Hasan made about Marco Rubio, I think what makes Marco Rubio so dangerous is not that it wasn't that it was that people didn't anticipate that he
people thought he was the safe one. People were like, oh, well, at least Marco Rubio is Secretary of State. I feel okay about that. He's been anti-Russia. He's been supporting Ukraine. This will be fine.
That was the mistake. Because what do we always say? One of the biggest, most dangerous things is to have a lack of imagination.
That's right.
And these people had a lack of imagination that someone like Marco Rubio could possibly become a shell of himself and turn into one of the Emperor Palpatine's greatest soldiers, right? Most loyal soldiers. Power is intoxicating. It turns people into unrecognizable shells.
It turns people into addicts.
Yes.
I mean, we talk about heroin and cocaine and and alcohol, all these other things. You can become an addict to power and
correct.
money. And these people are.
Henry Kissinger had a great line, and he said it with respect to why Jill St. John was dating him. People were like, she was the biggest actress of her time, and he's Henry Kissinger. And people were like, why is she dating Henry Kissinger? And why is she dating you, Mr. Secretary? To which he said, power is the greatest aphrodisiac.
Yes.
Now, he said that with respect to women. But I think it's not with respect to women so much as it is with respect to oneself. Or put another way, absolute power corrupts absolutely.
That's right.
And what we're dealing with here is that the aphrodisiac that Marco Rubio is smelling and consuming is the power that he has now as Secretary of State. Now, I would argue he actually has no power as Secretary of State because you've got Kristi Noem meeting with Netanyahu this week, sending messages to him. Kristi Noem, by the way, what the hell should be meeting with?
Well, you know, she was overseas over in was it Poland?
Today she's in Poland endorsing. No, not just for CPAC. She's in Poland endorsing the far right candidate running for president of Poland.
While she was at their CPAC there, which is why are they having a CPAC in Poland? They started in Hungary, now in Poland, because there's to your point, a far right wing party that's emerging there. Yep. And they're trying to influence that because Poland is over there also on the border, and there's issues with Russia, and there's a whole lot of geopolitical stuff going on there.
CPAC's Russia money, so just understand, Russia funded.
Yep.
But Kristi Noem's then meeting with Netanyahu. I guess she's hopscotching all over the world like the Secretary of State would. You've got Steve Witkoff trying to close the deal.
A dipshit.
I say that as a joke between Russia and Ukraine, i.e., sucking up to Vladimir Putin in the Kremlin. He's also the envoy for Middle East peace. What is Marco Rubio doing aside from taking visas away?
Right.
Chinese.
Well, that's the thing. I feel like he's so humiliated by how he's being treated and like positioned that he's like, okay, just doing the worst of the worst of the worst.
Because he's the only one that's competent enough to do that because he's been a senator for so long. He understands how the federal government and the State Department actually works. Where these other jerk-offs, they don't. Steve Witkoff is a real estate guy. Okay. And what the hell is he doing as our special envoy?
State Department for dummies. Like, you know what I mean?
True. It's like the Social Security Administrator. I don't know if you guys saw this story. Did you see it? For those who are watching, you probably didn't. The guy who is now tasked with running the Social Security Administration.
Oh, yeah. Doesn't.
Pretty important. Had no idea what the Social Security Administrator did. He had to Google it for fuck's sake.
Yep.
And there's an audio recording of him joking about this. This is who Donald Trump handed over one of the largest, most important programs in this country. And he gave it to some jerk off that didn't even know what it did. I don't know. What does the Social Security Administration do? And if you listen to him talk, you're like, oh my God. Again, it is the cacostocracy.
Right.
Like perfectly, you open up the dictionary, it's for cacostocracy, it says the Trump administration, because that's exactly who it is. The worst, most unqualified people in all of these jobs. But Marco Rubio, Steve Witkoff, his son runs World Liberty Financial, which is the crypto company that the Trump family is invested in.
This is the most
millions of dollars.
This is the most corrupt administration.
80% state. And let me add something. When he's meeting in the Kremlin with Vladimir Putin and
with his personal phone
and no American translator, using the Kremlin's translator, and I can promise you that the Kremlin's translator is an intelligence person.
Right.
It's not the got somebody who happens to speak English well.
Right.
And we have no idea what they're discussing, ostensibly peace in Ukraine, but realistically, that's a joke. We also don't know where the money is coming into world financial lenders from. And all we know is that Steve Witkoff's son runs it. The Trump family owns an 80% stake in it. And we also know that Steve Witkoff was bailed out by the Qataris and the Saudis when he had a bad real estate deal gone bad.
$630 million deal.
That's
gone
how bad. So the point is, this is the man who's charged with dealing with all of these autocrats. And let's be very clear, as much as Trump was talking about the king of Saudi Arabia, told me we're the hottest country in the world. The king of Saudi Arabia is an autocratic genocidal maniac who dismembers people and has them with chainsaws. And Vladimir Putin, no more needs to be said about who he is.
Who Jared Kushner has done business. So it's just like, you know what I mean? It never ends. It never ends.
It never ends, except for the fact that the entire thing is a kleptocracy.
Right.
But because it's out in the open, I guess it's okay. Because Sherry Redstone is expected to bribe Donald Trump out in the open with $25 million because he asked for $10 billion originally in this lawsuit, or else she's not going to get the FTC to sign off on her merger. I mean, what are we talking about here? And this has been made possible. I'm sorry, just to finish my rant. Made possible by one man and one man alone, and his name is Justice John Roberts. This is all legal.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Once the immunity decision, that's which was just crazy because it came down to that. And of all the people, again, John Roberts was someone that people thought would be an establishment guy and respect the Supreme Court and some of the more, stare decisis, established law and things. And no, he did this. When that immunity decision came down last year, there was a reason why so many academics and constitutional law professors and folks were like, "Oh my God, this is
the beginning of the end." Yeah,
yes,
it's
so
this is bad.
Because if Donald Trump wins, there is nothing to stop him from any of this. Just like in this big bullshit bill that they have, where it is taking away authority from the courts to enforce contempt.
Yep.
It makes it more difficult for them to do this. Like, what are we doing? Why aren't Democrats talking about that? And for the life of me, if they continue to call it, if the news media wants to continue to call it a big, beautiful bill and use Trump's propaganda terms, then whoever the guest is should turn around and change that and say, no, that is actually, we're not going to accept Donald Trump's propaganda terminology for this to try to gaslight the American people into believing this is good for them.
Right.
It's a big bullshit bill that is going to damage people's lives and 11 million people will lose their health care or whatever the number is.
People
just go down the list.
People are legitimately going to die. And here's the other ripple effect that I don't think people really understand too with this. Let's say they're going to let the bottom fall out of Medicare and Medicaid. Okay. But I have a job with a company and I have private insurance. So it doesn't really bother me. Yes, it will. Because if you live in a city, if you live in the country, it doesn't matter. You have to look at the percentages that every single hospital bills Medicare and Medicaid, how much money goes into that hospital. If they lose the majority of their revenue, that hospital is not going to be able to keep their doors open, which means you are less safe. You are not going to get the healthcare that you need because the facilities that exist for you now will not be there anymore.
Or their prices will skyrocket to the point where your insurance becomes unaffordable, even if it is private insurance. I mean, it's a disaster. But it goes all back to Julie's point about the corruption out in the open. It literally is out in the open. Well, so I'm like, as someone who worked for 2.5 years of my life when I was on Capitol Hill as a congressional staffer on a pardoning and commutation case for 2 Border Patrol agents who were unjustly prosecuted in Texas back in 2007 for shooting an illegal alien drug smuggler at the Texas border. I was like the Aaron Brockovich of this case, and I became completely entrenched in it because everyone knows that I come from a law enforcement family. And when this case came across my desk, I said, oh my God, this is a travesty of justice. These guys don't deserve what they're about to get. They were sentenced to 11 and 12 years in prison for this, for shooting a guy that had $1 million worth of drugs in a van. They didn't kill him. They shot him in his ass as he was running away because they thought that he turned with a gun in his hand to shoot at them, and they shot back and he got grazed in the ass and he kept running and crossed the border into Mexico. It became a very long, sordid story. I suggest if people want to hear about it, I should have written a book about it. I probably still could, but I mean, it was a long time ago now. But
I remember sitting with you at the CNN thing at the DNC. We were sitting outside at the CNN little thing.
Yes.
And we were sitting there having a drink, and you told me this whole story, and I was like, "Holy shit, Tara!
Yes.
Like, you have to write a book about this. It's wild,
it's unbelievable." And this was during the Bush administration, and I worked for a Republican, and we took the Bush administration on directly, and it was a Bush-appointed U.S. attorney in Texas that prosecuted them and shouldn't have. And it was the Bush prosecutor who threw the book at them and used a statute called 924C, which is the unlawful discharge of a firearm during a crime of violence. It has a mandatory minimum of 10 years. They were on the job. It had never been used against law enforcement officers in the commission of their duties. It had been used against corrupt law enforcement officers who use their service weapon to knock over a liquor store or rape someone or something. That's different. Okay. Not when it was a life or death, potential deadly force situation. It had never been applied because this was at a time when Bush was there was a lot of immigration stuff going on. There's a lot of shady shit going on at the border. There was a lot going on. So it was a travesty of justice. So as I took this case on and took on Ramos and Compion, you guys can Google it. I learned a whole lot about the pardon process and the commutation process. I became the expert on it outside of people who actually practice law. Right. I learned all about it. And so even though issuing pardons is a plenary constitutional right of the president of the United States, it's pretty unequivocal. You still weren't, until Roberts, you weren't allowed to like pay to play for pardons.
Right. You couldn't buy one.
Bribery.
Essentially.
Right. So, but that's out the window now, thanks to Justice Roberts. Well, what's happening and what we went through and what it took people who've watched us for a long time or who followed me have probably heard me use the term, the righteous anger of the American people collectively can make a difference. I learned that from my efforts on this Ramos and Compián case, spending 2.5 years getting the American people to speak out about this, call their representatives, put pressure on President Bush, like getting petitions signed, putting full page ads in newspapers. Like it was an unbelievable effort from the top down and the bottom up. We came from every way we could. I learned this, and George W. Bush finally commuted them as one of his final acts in office on the way out the door. We won. Now, they didn't get a full pardon. They got a commutation. The difference being the commutation, it ends the prison sentence, lets them out early. A full pardon wipes it all away.
Right.
So we were just happy. They deserve to be pardoned, but we were just happy to get them out of prison. They spent 2 years too long in prison while we were fighting for them. But we were happy for that. Donald Trump, coincidentally, actually fully pardoned them on his way out back in 2020. And it's the only good thing that I'll ever give him credit for, because I got the phone call that they got the full pardon and they deserved it and they got their full lives back. But, he just did that because there were people, actually one of my closest friends who I've lost to Trump and MAGA, she was instrumental on that case. And that's how we met, actually. She was a reporter on it. And she's in the inner circle. And she pressured him and he's like, okay, and just did it. He didn't give a shit about them or their lives.
Right. He's like, yeah. I mean, listen, when he's signing those executive orders in the Oval Office, they open it, read it to him, because it's the first time he's ever hearing about it.
Yeah. He's like, what?
Signs it. He's like, what is this? Okay, whatever.
I know, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So anyway, I say all that to say that when I watch what Donald Trump is doing with these indiscriminate pardons and commutations with terrible people, and the whole pardon process, the process is actually man-made. It's made up, but it's made up in order to have some semblance of order and fairness to the process. Because like what Trump is doing, you kind of can, right? The Constitution gives you the ability to just say, I'm going to pardon you. But what it doesn't say is that after someone like this, whose mother, this guy, cheated people out of tens of millions of dollars, bought yachts and everything else, and his mother went to $1 million a person dinner at Mar-a-Lago, and then all of a sudden, guess who gets out of prison? This guy. There's a litany of things. We saw this week the Creasleys from the reality show Creasley Knows Best.
Yes,
$30
right here.
million fraud. Now, I said on Wednesday, I actually loved that show. My mom and I used to watch it all the time. I was fascinated with them. They were a riot. However, I had no idea they were crooks the whole time. And they were legitimately crooks. What they did, if you or I had done this, we'd be under the jail. Now, you can argue whether 12 years and 7 years was too long for what they did for financial crime. They didn't kill anyone, but still, he just went in, didn't really even know anything about them, but they have a pretty young daughter who cozied up to Lara Trump and spoke at the RNC and became a conservative influencer. So he was like, okay, yeah, I'll do it. Out they come. Then you've got this corrupt sheriff in Virginia, another one who broke the public trust, handing out badges and guns and credentials to these guys who were paying him off. And he's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Deputizing these people, including one who used to be a felon. This is nuts. Then you have the whole list of these white collar fraudsters. Oh, this guy,
Michael Grimm.
Grimm.
When I saw his face, I was like, wait, isn't this the congressman who threatened to throw the New York One reporter off of the balcony in the rotunda?
Yes, he's a former FBI agent, right? And he had a complete anger problem, and he was out of control. And he also was another one who committed fraud. I mean, and then even a month and a half ago, a bunch of these people, including one of these guys who went to that crypto dinner last week at the Virginia Trump property that they bought their way in, all of these people were pardoned or their cases were dropped because Donald Trump has disbanded the cryptocurrency fraud unit in the DOJ. It is open for business. This is crazy. And it's why this isn't being talked about constantly. You or I could not do this. We would never get away with this. And no Democrat would ever get away with this. This should be a bipartisan fastball down the middle, because that's where it used to be, where it used to come to stuff like this, where it was so blatantly obvious. You cannot put our government up for sale this way. And then how do you put this genie back in the bottle? This level of corruption that they can just flout the law and get away with it.
And I got to tell you, if this were the shoe was on the other foot, you would have Fox News and every single member of Congress doing everything. I mean, like, they would be on their local news holding press conferences doing.
Oh my God.
They do
several
live
times
hits.
a day.
They would do live hits in front of these people's houses or in front of the building constantly.
Right. Where is the Democratic Party? What are they doing?
I know.
Legitimate. Like, I'm actually going to start I would love if people can put in the chat if you know what the Democrats in Washington did this week. Like, does anybody here know what they did this week?
Well, they aren't. Well, the Senate's on recess, but
it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter.
I know.
They can say hearings. It doesn't matter. They can fly to wherever this is. Like, let me tell you, when I was doing the Ramos and Compion case, I give credit. Well, I don't want to say credit, but Bill O'Reilly sent a camera crew down to the prison, the federal prison, where one of my agents was almost beaten to death, and because the warden was incompetent. We were assured that this guy would be protected, and he wasn't, and he almost got killed.
Yeah, not surprising.
I know. I went down there in Yazoo City, Mississippi. Sorry to Yazoo City if anyone who's watching is from there, but fuck that shit. This Jersey girl never wants to step foot down there again, because you can keep it. So I was down there, and I reamed this warden and demanded answers on things. And they, she tried to avoid us, didn't want to talk to us. Well, Bill O'Reilly caught wind of it, and he sent a camera crew down there to follow her for a week. And they harassed her until they were able to get something on camera when she was running away, and she ended up getting reassigned. Like, you harangue these people until there's accountability. Now, where are the Democrats for doing this?
Right.
Well, and somebody here in the chat said, Jacqueline, you said the Dems are constantly being told they're being investigated. Maybe they are scared. We're not scared. What are you scared of?
They have the powers at their office.
If you're scared because, well, one of them just got charged. I mean, they're not above charging members of Congress.
No.
He wasn't scared.
Mm-hmm.
He went down to that prison in New Jersey, in New York, and she stood up for her right to walk in there. And so my point is, if you're scared,
you're in the wrong business.
Find a different line of work.
Yep.
Nobody's forcing the three of us to sit here and talk about this. If we wanted to feel safe, I'd be brushing my hair right now watching, I finally would watch The Real Housewives or whatever.
It's a reprieve. It's a great reprieve. I watch Housewives every Sunday. Yeah. My husband's into it. Jersey, Atlanta, Potomac. I'm telling you, it's a great reprieve.
But my point is, my husband represented, I think, one or two of them. So,
oh, that's fine.
I don't even want to deal, but yeah. But I also think if you're scared, find something else to do. Nobody's forcing you to be a member of Congress. Nobody's
right.
Yeah.
Just right here. This is the Carville thing. Just be like, roll over and play dead until there's another election. That is the stupidest thing. It is not 1996 anymore.
Right. That might have worked then when you didn't have social media and cable news.
We're all doing this all day long.
That's right. It was a whole, and Julie, you know this. It was a whole different thing from the 90s when Carville was the hot shit. But it's a different world now. You cannot play possum because the world is still marching forward. And you cannot do that because while they're playing possum, the Republicans are setting the narrative constantly.
I just had this conversation with two candidates who are running for governor of New Jersey in the Democratic primary. They all did. There's 6 candidates running for governor on the Democratic side. All of them agreed to do a 2.5-hour debate on a local political blog that nobody who's an undecided voter ever reads. It is read entirely by insiders, all of whom have made up their minds years ago to whom they're going to support because they're all lobbyists. And they spent 2.5 hours, these people, on the debate stage, days prepping for the debate, reading briefing books, doing simulations, doing Oppo, you know, how they're going to zing, how they're going to land the moment, and I was like, what are you doing? Go find your phone, do a TikTok video, and get it out there. And 1 billion more people are going to see that than any of the stupid debates. These people live in the 90s. They live, listen, I've made a penny doing debate prep for every single candidate running statewide in New Jersey for the last 20 something years. Not one election have I not been part of debate prep for any of them. Right. And I will tell you right now, as somebody who made a living doing that, it is the biggest fucking waste of time. And James Carville, I'm sorry, but times have changed. Times have even changed. I'm not even sure that I know how to do this right anymore.
They've changed very fast, and they're continuing to change.
I don't know social media the way, you know, I still send out political, you know, my business was political mail. That's all. That's great if you want to appeal to people over 65, but not to anybody else.
Right. It's great if you live in the villages.
Yeah.
Right.
But even then, I know over 65 crew, you know, our boomer parents, they're on their phones. God bless. They're on social media also. They might be in different places. They're not on TikTok necessarily.
But they're on Facebook. They're on Instagram. Yeah. Like, you know,
we have a 90-year-old woman who supports us. She supports the Seneca Project. She's 90 and sends me emails all the time talking about our experiences. And God bless, her name is Isabel, and she is amazing. Yes. And she talks about her experiences as a woman and what she saw and has thanked us for standing up for women and how she's like, I'm never going back. And she's 90, you know,
God bless.
Like, you know, so it is a whole new world here. And Carville's right about some things, right? He gets the everyday man stuff.
He does.
The tactics have not adapted, and he's giving them bad advice.
Right. And what is it that you say? And Julie, you say it too. Like, there is no off year. On November 5th was the presidential election. The midterm started on November 6th. And like, that's just how it should be and how it is. And the Republicans never take a day off, but the Democrats just like kind of lay back and take a nap. And, you know, I know that people you're like frustrated, like, oh, don't jump on the Democrats all the time. Well, I'm a Democrat. Julie's a Democrat. Like, we're frustrated with our party because they're not doing anything. And we're facing an existential crisis.
Yeah.
And the end of our American democracy. Like, I'm sorry, but get off your ass and do something.
I don't want to hear that shit. I have devoted my entire professional life to the Democratic Party. I have elected more Democrats than probably anybody else on earth. And I will tell you right now, I am disgusted because there's a Pew poll out that showed that Democrats only have a 75% approval rating among Democrats. And I repeat what I said yesterday. Who are the 75? Because I'm not one of them. I do not approve of my party right now. And I don't say this to beat up on Democrats. I say this because if we kumbaya ourselves to death, it's not going to get better. And the other thing I mentioned about James Carville is he's, I think, 80 or so. So's like the average Democratic senator.
Yeah.
So they think that he's saying what they need to hear because they don't know what TikTok is. They don't know what social media is. They don't know what memes are. They don't know how to communicate and these kinds of sound bites. These guys think that C-SPAN still matters, that they go down to the floor and do their, you know, special order
speeches. Right. Yeah, that's right. Which used to be a thing. Even 10 years ago, used to be a thing. It's not.
Boss, if anybody here is from New Jersey, my old boss, Frank Pallone, Congressman Pallone, who's a wonderful, wonderful man. When I worked for him in the 90s, was in charge of doing what's known as special orders, which is the stuff on the floor. He was in charge of special orders for the Democratic Party in the House. And that's all great. And he would get all excited because C-SPAN would cover it and people who wanted to tune in would tune in, and fantastic. Like, as I say this out loud, I'm cringing because in 2025, that's not what does it.
Nope. It's committee hearings and your staffer taking a clip of you in the committee hearing and posting it on social media.
Right.
Now you can do that with floor speeches too, but most people, you don't need to go down and do a 1-minute floor speech or a 5-minute speech or whatever special order you want, because you can go on your phone and there's a couple apps.
Film yourself.
Right. It's called a direct to camera and you can just do it like that. And you don't have to worry about the rules of the House floor. Now, I'm not saying people shouldn't do it, and if they want things read into the congressional record, that you should do that. However, your whole comm strategy should not revolve around special orders on the floor anymore.
And Cory Booker is kind of in charge of the Senate Democrats' comms plan, which I feel like got sort of a good start, but I don't know what's happened to it. It's sort of kind of all fallen apart since then. Nobody's on the same message.
Fucking book.
Well, there you go. And it's again, it's like a lack of integrity. It's a lack of unity. It's a lack of like everyone seeming like, listen, we might not all want the same things, but we definitely want to hold on to our democracy. So let's all put our heads together, say the same thing. Let's get some talkers every morning and let's get on TV and let's get on podcasts and go, 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 go. And instead of spending $20 million to hire a bunch of consultants or to hire some sort of like think tank to tell you how to get young male voters and like
how to relate to them,
how to relate to them, not even how to get them to vote for you, just to relate to them
and understand the language they use.
Just $20 million just to figure that part out, and then have these retreats where you're hiring Ezra Klein. Who, listen, I don't know Ezra Klein. I'm sure he's like a nice person, but like I cannot take him seriously when he's like giving these monologue speeches in this kind of like breathy tone. And there's like, you know, all these cameras around him, like with different angles.
It's
just so performative. It's so inauthentic. And it's like the thing that I hate about this culture and the thing I hate about politics. And I got into politics, I don't know, 10 years ago and professionally like 5 years ago. And the thing that makes me the most mad is the establishment Democrat, like career people who shun everybody else out because they don't live in DC. They don't live in the DMV or the Beltway. They didn't go to the right schools. They didn't have the right majors. Like, you all suck and you're so out of touch and you don't know even how to advise your candidate, your representative, whoever it is that you're working for, because you were so out of touch with what is going on with the rest of the country. It makes me furious.
You're not alone. You're not alone. I sent you the article this week that talked about how the Obama bros are falling out of fashion because what is happening? My cat is tearing down my studio. This is why I don't let him in here. I know everyone's happy to see Rafi, but he's a menace. He's very curious. Raf, what are you doing? Anyway,
snobby elitists. Yes,
they are. And now it's coming back to bite them, because that's why the Democrats lost to Trump last time, because there was these blind spots to what's happening to regular folks.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, this is a problem. And but that's a whole nother thing. But here's this, and we're going on 90 minutes, so we're going to wrap up the show now. But this brings me to the point of what we're doing with Seneca and how we are partnering with Indivisible. Because Indivisible, as much as I didn't agree with some of the things they did before when I was on the other side years ago, but to Michelle's point, we are all on the same side of democracy now, and all that other shit doesn't matter. Yeah. Indivisible has been doing great work organizing people on the ground around the country for town halls, for protests, and they're doing this No Kings protest on June 14th as a counter to Donald Trump's, as JoJo says, small in the pants parade, this military parade that, is not about honoring our military. We already know how he feels about this. He's got a hard on for the fact that he can do this and get his military parade like most dictators do, because weak men need to feel propped up by military might. Okay. And this is bullshit. And the fact that it's going to cost all this money, it's going to be $100 million. Don't listen to this $45 million number. That's bullshit. It's closer to $100 million, because that's how much it was going to cost last time. And it's bigger than before what they proposed. And Indivisible, they're doing 700 across the country in different smaller communities.
That's right here.
That's the map right there. This is on their website. And the 5 dots you see there are their 5 anchor cities. And Philadelphia is the main one. I think it's Atlanta, Chicago, Houston, and I'm missing one.
I don't know. I can't tell. Charlotte. Okay.
And so those are the anchor cities, but then these are all the other places. So if you you can go on their website. We're also going to post this all on the Seneca website. And we are part of their partner organizations where we are spreading the word, because we want people to go out and show their patriotism and their pride, not at Donald Trump's parade in Washington. We're there. Do not go to Washington. We do not want him to get those people, because then he's just going to say that you can't tell the difference between who's protesting and who's being MAGA.
Exactly, under the guise of supporting our military. Correct. Because it's the 250th anniversary birthday of the Army. Right. It also happens to be Donald Trump's birthday, which we all know also. But yeah, like, we want to have our own where we say no to Donald Trump, and also thank you, Army. Thank you, military, because we actually respect you. We actually are grateful for you, unlike Donald Trump, who just wants to use you as a political prop.
That's right, because it's our army, not his.
And one more thing, the Pope is coming to Chicago also.
Yes.
On King's Day. He's coming to Chicago, which I believe is his first big trip as Pope.
It is.
That
is not an accident.
Yeah, not an accident. At first, I thought the best place for the Pope.
Welcome to the resistance, Pope Leo.
Yeah.
At first, I thought that he was going to go to, that he should go to CICOT in El Salvador. The message. But now I'm kind of liking the fact that he's subtweeting Trump here.
It's fantastic.
Because he's going to Chicago. A papal visit is going to trump any stupid military parade.
Yep.
And in addition to that, you've got the No Kings rallies. So there's a lot going on June 14th that is going to take away from tanks rolling down Constitution Avenue or wherever he's planning on sending tanks down.
Yes. This is brilliant. And we're proud to be a part of it. We've talked to the Indivisible folks. They're great. They're hardworking over there. They have they're doing amazing work. And we also have new Seneca gear. So we want people to be proud of being Americans, wear your American stuff. And if you want to wear your American Girl gear, we have it over at the Seneca Project website at senecaproject.us. Just click on shop, or I think it's shop. Yeah. We have American Girls Never Back Down, our Webby Award winning speech. Printed on our shirts. We also have caps too. We also have bags. We've got mugs, but you can't take those with you. But you can wear your shirt. You can wear your caps. Right. We've got all kinds of cool stuff over at the Seneca shop. We oftentimes forget to talk about it, but you can wear your Seneca gear with pride, except for our purple hats. Don't at me. It's a long story, but we've got other cool stuff there. So we're also putting together a pretty cool rallying cry video for this thing. And if you guys want to help us with that, please, and any financial support to help us put that together and to spread the word, we always appreciate it. But we wanted to make sure we left you guys with a call to action that we are doing this, and it's important to send that message, because no kings in America, I think, is fair to say, because Donald Trump may think he's one, but he's not. The emperor has no clothes, and we know it.
Yep.
Well, I'm very sorry. I will be out of the country on the 14th, but I will be there in spirit with all of you. And I hope everybody can turn out and go to this, because I think it's so important to show what you could do.
Yeah, thank you. And is that Jeannie? I have my glasses on, but it's too small. Is it Jean?
Yeah.
Jean, that's awesome. If you guys get Seneca gear, post a picture and tag us so that we can put it up and you can show it off. But thank you for supporting us. We appreciate that. All right. Well, on that note, yes, Taco Trump, I think, is hilarious. And I posted a picture of him from his taco bowl thing. I was like, why is he so upset? I thought he was like into the taco thing.
I know. Well, there's a couple other things, and I'll hold them until Saturday. That just to give people a preview. I really want to talk about RFK Jr. and what he's doing. Yes, we talked about the vaccines. It's like obvious what's going on there. But
Getting our booster tomorrow. Good,
thank God. But the whole Maha plan is based on made up publications.
Yeah, I saw that today.
They're
unbelievable.
fake.
Why are we surprised? Everything about these people is fake and made up. They're kooks. The guy has a brain worm. It's self-admitted.
I know.
Why is anybody shocked? Dead whale on his roof and allowed the whale juice to run into his daughter's face.
I can't. It's disgusting. I want to show it on Saturday. I want to talk about an opinion article that was in the USA Today that I just thought was so funny and so on point. Like, there was anger emanating from him, but he was just like, he did this. Also, he's an idiot. Also, he's dumb. Why are we doing this? He's stupid. And like literally just saying these things. I was like, this is how.
And a longtime heroin addict. Like, this is just nuts. Again, the double standard is just outrageous. It's outrageous.
And I also have 3 clips of Dan Bongino on Fox and
Friends.
Oh
yeah, we didn't talk about Bongino today.
I know we didn't get to Bongino because Julie knows Dan Bongino, and we want to make fun of him and talk about him because life is hard and he has a job now.
I
can't do my job.
He stares at the 4 corners of his office. How about
he stares, and when
you get out of the field, you're an FBI agent.
Right. What are you
Cash
doing?
Patel, when he turns on the water, I hear it. I'm just like, what? So anyways, we're going to watch those. We're going to dissect them. It's going to be great.
Yeah, it'll be fun on Saturday to go.
But the last thing I want to say this on this show. Tara, I want you to just say really quickly about what we heard about Alex Thompson.
I
want to say this just really quick to this audience, because we did talk about it briefly on Wednesday. Tara brought it up. I know a little bit more about it now after talking to Tara. So I think it's important because I want to beat the drum on this.
Yeah. So the whole Jake Tapper book, Alex Thompson, bashing Biden shit, it's gotten worse actually since the last time we talked, because he's still they're still on the circuit out here talking to right-wing publications and further debasing themselves by going after Biden and stuff. And so a very close friend who, on good authority, who was in the Biden world during the campaign, told me that Alex Thompson misrepresented himself to be able to get into the Biden inner circle, particularly through the Hunter Biden orbit. And that he was there trying to, he presented himself as someone who was going to write like a positive story about the Bidens.
Yeah, he was like,
everything.
I'm going to come in. I'm going to write this great story. Just under complete false pretenses. He lied his way into the front door.
And then, hello, we have this tome now, Original Sin, that him and Jake Tapper are running around selling.
Which a lot of this information is not in quotes.
Which a lot of the information that some of the things that are being, the excerpts that are out there about who said what and when, if it's not in quotation marks, they do not have proof it was said. That means it was either told to them from a second hand or on background. They don't have it in quotes. That means they don't have it on the record. So be very, very careful of that. But it's my understanding that Hunter Biden is in South Africa, pretty much in hiding with his wife's family, because it's not safe for him to come back to the U.S.
That is a travesty.
As his father is, I hate to say this, has not much time left.
Yeah.
Cancer diagnosis.
Right.
And yet his only son has to be outside the country because it's not safe for him to come home.
Yeah.
What authoritarian regime are we living under?
I know.
That's
unbelievable. And someone asked South Africa, his wife is from there. His current wife is from there and her family is there. That's why he's down there. And by the way, it was while he was in South Africa when Donald Trump callously pulled his Secret Service detail. So, I mean, it's just a lot. And one other person was saying, I just want to address this real fast, about how my husband only watches Housewives with me because he's scared that he's going to have to sleep on the couch. No. First of all, buddy, you never met my husband, okay?
No.
My husband is 6'2", 225,
and he's always packing. You know what I mean?
Like, so unlike Trump, he really is 6'2" and 225.
Correct.
Yeah.
And he doesn't do anything he doesn't want to. Right. And I bust his chops about it because he gets into it. He is all into it. Sometimes he says to me, "Are we caught up?" So everybody has reprieves because we have very intense jobs and careers every day that you sometimes just need escapism. And that's our escape, among other many things like live music and traveling and wine and all kinds of and sports. But so my husband, trust me, he's into it, and a lot of other husbands are too, whether they want to admit it or not. But he is not insecure as a man where he has to hide behind that or anything like that. He's perfectly secure with himself, and he'll tell you he watches Housewives.
Well, your husband's a better sport than mine. Mine refused to watch Sex and the City with me because he started projecting that this my life in the 90s before I met him, and he didn't.
Oh no!
Oh my God! I got Marcel into Sex and the City too, which is pretty funny.
I would love to get my husband into Sex and the City because
he's into it. He acts like he's not sometimes, but he gets all into it. And then because the reruns come on all the time, so I watch. They never get old.
It's like dated, like at this point, but like who cares? Like I don't know.
Yeah, no, he's all into it, and then the movies, and sometimes we'll be like, again, I'm like,
I pretend the second one didn't happen. It was
I know.
The movies are awful. Even the last couple seasons are stupid.
The first one wasn't terrible, but
the first one was fun.
I mean, I cried. One.
I went just really. Then we're really gonna go. Yeah. I went to 42nd Street Theater on opening night of the first Sex and the City movie. Of course, now my computer's doing something weird. But everybody had Cosmos. Like we had packed Cosmos like in a flask and then brought glasses. And like it was a theater full of young women. I was like, I don't know, 25. I don't even remember how old I was. And we were all hooting and hollering. And it was the most fun 2 hours. And listen, we all need our escape. We all need it.
Yes.
So it is, especially the first few seasons. All right.
Well, and just like that premieres tonight. So I will be watching.
I didn't know that.
I didn't see the 29th. Yeah, today's the 29th, right? Yes. And our just as a quick aside about that, if you watch And Just Like That, the fabulous new character played by Nicole Ari Parker is based off of our senior advisor and finance chair, Crystal McQuarrie McGuire.
Yeah.
It is modeled after her. That's how fabulous she is. And we love her.
Really.
So.
And completely wonderful.
And she's
person.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Anyway.
So catch us on Saturday. We'll be together plus a JoJo at 10 a.m. Eastern on the Seneca YouTube and Twitter and on Julie's platforms and JoJo's platforms. We'll be everywhere. At 10 a.m. Check out Julie's Substack, Salty Politics. Please check that out. She writes great things. Same with Tara. Tara has one called Uncompromised. And I hope you'll check that out as well. But in the meantime, please go to our website, check out our merch. Look into nokings.org, see what's going on, see if there's a march coming to your town.
Yes.
And otherwise, we will see you next week. And I'm going to play us out with Do Not Obey in advance.
Good.
All right. Bye, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks, Julie. Bye.
Thanks. Very honored.
Jeff Bezos, Sam Altman, and Mark Zuckerberg pledging $1 million donations to the Trump Inauguration Fund.
The ABC settlement for $15 million.
The Los Angeles Times will soon be adding Scott Jennings to their editorial board after the owner is now calling for more conservative voices.
Joe and I went to Mar-a-Lago to meet personally with President-elect Trump.
John Fetterman saying he's a hard yes for Republican Congresswoman Elise Stefanik, posting on Truth Social that he wants Donald Trump to get a pardon.
If there is a way to work with DOGE or Elon Musk, I'm going to do that.
This could be a constructive undertaking that ought to be embraced.
Senator Bernie Sanders saying Elon Musk is right. Some Democrats telling ABC News their plan to defeat Republicans in the 2026 midterms is to play nice for now. It's time to buckle up, Buttercup, because it is about to be on and popping.
I would be worried about Hexbeth running a McDonald's, let alone the Department of Defense. Say goodbye to your smile and say hello to polio.
Nancy Mace wants little girls and women to drop trow in front of who? An investigator? It is disgusting.
I'm really interested in the Democrats rebuilding Abigail Spanberger, who is running for governor in Virginia.
Congresswoman Mikey Sherrill of New Jersey, a former U.S. Navy helicopter pilot who is now running for governor.
Laguna Pueblo member and Secretary of the Interior Deb Haaland is expected to run for governor of New Mexico in 2026.
If Democrats are true to their values, they will do everything they can with the power that they have right now, which is limited, to prevent Donald Trump from doing the things that he's already announced he's going to do.